evento. A la gran pantalla tenemos que ir. Miren, claro, están todos en la gran pantalla. El evento otra vez en el Fortnite. Sí, me metí al Fortnite por el evento nomás, por el evento. Después vamos de nuevo al lo que sea, no sé. Pero solamente me cambié para ver el evento. Vamos a ver el evento. Vamos. Rápido, quiero ver el evento. ¿Cuánto falta? A la ¿cuál minuto inicia? ¿Me va a cambiarme? Ya yo me voy a meter a ver el evento. Pero lo tenéis que ver en modo, ¿cómo se llama? Magistral, creo. Manita. Todo sin skin. No me cargan las skins, no me cargan. ¡Ah! Este tiene el pack. Este tiene el. Wanda acá tiene el pack. Este Wanda acá tiene el pack. Este Wanda acá tiene el pack. Espérate, vamos a ver la gente que hay en nuestra partida. Espérate. Alguien tiene este baile, no me deja bailar, what the fuck. No me deja bailar. Creo que acá no deja bailar. ¿Vas a jugar en PC? No, mío. Quiero ver cuáles se esconden en esta esquina. A ver, en esta. No la conozco. La Lince. No tiene máscara. Laura. No te puedes quedar quieto, la puta madre. ¡4 minutos! Faltan, cabrón, miren, 4 minutos. Se escucha muy bajito, no sé por qué, pero faltan 4 minutos y el show empieza en 4 minutos, cabrón. Empieza el evento en 4 minutos. Comienza, cabrón, comienza, quédense en el directo, bicho. ¡Ah! 4 minutos. Va a empezar el evento. Faltan 4 minutos, cabrón. En 4 minutos y empieza esta mierda. 4 minutos y empieza esta mierda. Claro, voy a hacer algo, voy a hacer algo, No, espérate. Tres minutos faltan, 3 minutos, 3 minutos. Ahora vamos a subirnos acá. 3 minutos, 3 minutos. Tres minutos, cabros, 3 minutos, 3 minutacos. 3 minutacos. Vamos, cabros, cabros, vamos, vamos. Hermano. Cabro, me llevaron a la mierda el hijo de perra. Cabro, nos saltamos el evento, perdón. ¿Cuánto falta? Minuto con 26. Claro, ¿quién saca en el directo? Vamos a esperar. Se escucha muy bajito porque está el evento recién comenzando. Después se va a estar subiendo el volumen de Fortnite. Puta que vamos a ganar. Cabrón. 13, 12, 10, 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. ¿Ya comenzamos?
The badge is better than having some heart. Okay, look now, look how they running. They beating white people down just to show us what's coming, or to show us we nothing, or to show us we only welcome when singing or balling. You shut up and dribble.
Ahí están los subtítulos para que los que no entienden.
Hey everybody, I'm Carrie Champion. Welcome to We the People. So today we are having a very candid conversation with athletes and artists who want to make sure that you use your voice.
No los conozco.
Voting is your voice. So we have so many different issues that have happened in this country. It's really, truly unprecedented time. So I'm looking forward to these conversations. I think you'll be educated as well as entertained, but most importantly informed. We have morethanavote.org, whenweallvote.org, and fairfight.com. Those resources are imperative as we try to change our future.
Yeah, la la.
There's no way that we can talk about hip hop or even the fact that we want to talk about activism, black voter suppression, without bringing in this guy straight from Port Arthur, Texas. We are talking about Bumby. He is an activist, a scholar, and an all-around gentleman. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Bun, I don't want to start heavy, but I guess I have to because that's where we are in the world today. It's heavy as hell. And when you think about what needs to happen in this country in terms of change, what's the first thing that you think of?
Equality. That's pretty much the first thing that comes to mind, right? Black people need to be seen as equals in this world. You know, we had to fight just to be recognized as a full citizen in this country and not 3/5.
The world is now seeing what we've known for so long in the culture and in the community. The one way that we can fight is obviously voting. Talk to me about what voting means to you.
I hear people all the time talking about one vote doesn't matter and that voting doesn't make a difference. If that's true, why do they work so hard to suppress the black vote? Because they understand the power of the vote. And so it's time that black people collectively also understand the power of their vote. And not just on a national level, because a lot of times we only have this conversation every 4 years. People need to be very much involved in their local politics. They need to understand who their elected officials are, where they stand on issues that affect you. And you need to use your vote to either support the ones that care about you and your condition, or to elect people who do. A newer initiative that we're dealing with is educating felons, right? So in the state country, if you're in jail currently during pre-trial, but you have not been convicted, like you're still in jail waiting for your day in court, you are still eligible to vote.
And you said something so key. They work so hard to hope that we stay uninformed, but more importantly, to suppress the black vote. If you could do one thing with this message that we're trying to send today about how important voting is, what type of images would you like our people to understand and see when they go to these polls and vote or when they cast their ballots?
I think the images that we've all seen, you know what I'm saying, for decades in this country, if not centuries in this country, we've seen black people oppressed, we've seen black people attacked. So every time you look back and you see those old black and white images of people of color being attacked by dogs and people of color being sprayed with hoses, that's what they were fighting for. Back then, they were just fighting for a chance to vote. People like Martin Luther King Jr., people like Malcolm X, these people died to help us be in a position to have the power that we have now, which is to be able to cast a vote and make a decision about the people that have controls over our lives. So, I mean, if you in your own community need a reason to vote, look at a person like George Floyd. If the people in your city are not open to police reform, are not open to having a conversation about defunding the police, are not open to issues concerning economic equality, judicial equality, and racial equality, right? If they're scared to say Black Lives Matter, you have the power to put people in those positions who do believe that Black Lives Matter, who do believe in racial equality, economic equality, judicial equality, right? Who see us as human beings. And if the people in your community don't feel that way, vote them out. It's that simple. You just vote them out. We don't have enough time to sit around and hope that people change their mind.
Yeah, Bumby, you point out something so important. We have the power. And that is in our vote, and that is with our voice, and that's how we use our voice. I think of where we are right now. People say this is a particular moment, but it is a movement. Not just a moment, it is a movement. Why, in your opinion, was it George Floyd's death? Why was that the chosen brutality for people to say, oh my God, black people are still oppressed in this country, and it is not fair?
I think it's twofold, Carrie. In so many different encounters between people of color and the police, there simply is no proof of what happened in the interaction. And so what happens is in a court of law, it tends to lean towards the policeman's point of view, right? In this case, we saw very clearly what happened. I think the other thing is due to the fact that everyone was at home, basically, during this time period in relation to
salió un meteorito de ahí.
Right? It was on every television station. It was on every social media platform. Everywhere you turn, you were constantly hit upside the head with this message.
Ay, bueno,
You see
estar
in the
leyendo
interaction
los
that this
subtítulos,
man did
entonces no
nothing to
importa.
deserve that. All right, so most people, when they hear the term defund the police, they tend to think of, oh, they're going to take away our police department. Nothing could be further from the point. Defunding the police means that in certain communities, even Houston, take for example, we had over $1 billion allocated to our police force. Now, what is that money being used for? Some of that money tends to be allocated towards riot shields, right? Pepper spray, right? That kind of thing. That's only used against the people that fund this budget, right? So why would the people want to supply the police with the means to oppress them? If the police are concerned about the situation in certain communities with a higher crime rate, well, higher crime rates tend to happen in communities where there's not employment opportunities, right? There's not a lot of social services, and people are going to do what they need to do to take care of themselves and their families. When the community has more opportunities for employment, more opportunities for upward mobility, then they tend to be a less of a strain on the government. They tend to have a lower crime rate, and because of that, we'll have less need for the police in those communities.
You are passionate about so many different
Yo,
things.
sir, I stopped my phone. No!
Well, right now, obviously, being a part of More Than a Vote is essential. We're dealing with primaries in this country right now, and we just want to educate people. We want to inform people because people are tired, they're angry, they're concerned, and they want information and they want action. And so we want to make sure that we give them the right information and lead them in the right direction. And we thank the people that do not look like us for standing with us right now, because it's very important that people who aren't black be involved, because if black people could have gotten rid of racism, we would have done it hundreds of years ago. And so I'm trying to use my voice and my platform just to let people know that if they feel like I do, there's a number of places they can go to enact change in their community. People need to know about how their city council runs. They need to know that they have the ability to speak when city council meets, to let them know that that's not the way that they feel their city needs to be run. Those are not the positions that they feel the way that their community needs to be
Luis.
Run for office in your local community.
Luis.
You run for positions. Like, people act like they leave it up to somebody else. If you're upset,
Luis. Luis.
it really isn't. And depending on how small your town is, you could be a mayor.
Luis. ¿Estáis viendo el evento? Puta, pero, mira, pero es de, te dan un baile. Mira, Ahmed es del nuevo juego, es el de Historia Magistral, creo que se llama. ¿Cómo se llama? Fiesta Magistral. Está ahí. Pero creo que si te metí no te va a salir nada en la pantalla grande. En el evento en la pantalla grande, en la gran pantalla, mejor dicho.
Hey man, I feel like I need to go out and run for something. You gave me a rousing speech there, sir. I'd be remiss if I didn't answer this.
Aquí te estaba diciendo de que el evento.
Cuando termine,
Que de un baile.
porque Fortnite lo publicó antes de que empezara el evento, publicó en Instagram.
Children and grandchildren who are
¿Nunca
watching
hacéis
me,
las
who are
publicaciones
encouraged
de
by what I
Instagram?
do, and they're proud of me
Instagram
right now, you know, and that's really
de
what
Fortnite.
matters, you know.
Tenés que
The change
seguir
starts at
porque
home,
ahí
you
Fortnite
know,
pasa
so
toda la
as long as you
información.
have a support system that believes in what you're doing and supports you
En
in
la
what
gran
you're
pantalla.
doing, you have everything you need to go out there and fight the good fight. And for those that don't, there's a community of people here to help you. So you can go to places like morethanavote.org. There are
De
many
coña,
different
pensé que me
places
había
that will
tocado
encourage you
contigo,
and
de
inform you,
verdad.
and they will put you with groups of people that feel like you, that are
Porque
ready
tengo
to
un
take
amigo
action.
agregado,
So no one
no
has
sé
to
quién
go
es,
about this alone. If they
te lo
wanna
juro
do
y
it.
me puse a ver.
We're stronger together. People have been saying it, but that has much more meaning now that we are in our movement.
El hermano, el evento está terrible, ¿verdad? Yo estoy grabando el evento así por si así sale, pero hermano está terrible aburrido.
Keep up the good fight.
Está sonando música.
Yeah, la la.
¿Están
Our
rapando?
next guest, I have to admit, I'm a fan.
Ah.
But there are so many different people that we could talk to.
Oye.
It's so imperative that we speak.
Si no veis nada en la gran pantalla, me avisáis y te ponía a ver mi directo.
She also has a comedy special highlighting her Nigerian.
¿Te sale algo en la pantalla?
Amazing podcaster.
Sí, pues, porque hay caleta de gente, pero tal vez no te aparezca en la pantalla eso.
And right now, you look across this country and how everyone is so broken and so upset. If it's not social injustice, it's the pandemic, it's depression, it's unemployment, the list goes on and on. How are you doing?
I'm rediscovering self in a way that is hard but necessary. That
Oye,
will lead to ultimate joy. I know it sounds like a lot,
¿te sale?
but no, I think I personally think that God put all of us on a global timeout. Like we just, America hasn't done as good as other
Mira,
people when it
¿cachai?
comes to
Donde es la
timeout
gran
because everyone
pantalla.
else is out playing at recess, and we're still in the principal's office.
Es donde, donde
We
dice
can
la
come
gran
out.
pantalla.
But I think that if we settle into the timeout and really learn the
Dos
lessons that we
locas,
need to learn
dos
from this
locas
season,
de
I think
color
we'll
negro.
emerge better.
Yes.
We'll learn how to play well with others
Sí.
in more
Son
ways
dos
than
negros.
one.
Nada, pues creo que no nos tocó la
I'm
misma.
taking this time to learn me in a new way. I feel like I'm
Estoy
being
en la gran
ushered into a
pantalla,
new
pues.
season,
Ahí donde
and
estoy tú.
I'm getting still. Because sometimes the busy
Como lugar.
confounds the work that we're supposed to actually be doing. We're busy doing other stuff, but we got work that we need to do on the inside. And I'm leaning into it. I'm like, dang, I thought I was gonna be able to rest like everybody else. And you guys like, nah, we got work.
You know what? And I think that's what everybody is saying about 2020. It's demanding that we be better. And you said it's a global.
O si no me hubiese salido.
Yeah, it's like everyone sit down, be humble, to quote the great prophet.
No, no se puede. Yo intenté bailar también, pero no me
Like,
dejaba.
no, seriously, sit down and let's reevaluate some things. Let us unearth and shake up the things that we have been trying to hide within ourselves, within our nation. I think America is going through an unraveling right now, a much needed, a much necessary one, and I think all eyes on us, right? There is no, I was on the subway for an hour, so I didn't miss that thing that happened. No, everybody was home. Everybody, was watching when George Floyd died, and everybody, no one could hide it. Everyone was watching when Amy Cooper called the cops. Like, this is a time where it's like, oh, we can't pretend it away. We can't excuse it away. No. It's a global timeout. Sit down, watch, and let's learn. And globally, it's like, hey,
No, sí sé, hermano,
we
sí
were
sé.
going business as usual,
Pero no me
but
gustaba mucho porque
it
había
ain't
caleta de
usual
gente.
no more. Like that's old. Anytime change occurs, it's very uncomfortable. And so right now we're sitting with we're getting we're getting comfortable with the uncomfortable.
The minorities, we've been comfortable with being uncomfortable because that to me explains just the existence for whatever we want to do, how we break into our careers, how we live our lives, how we find ourselves one of the few or one of the first. And that's a lonely road. When you look at, and when you talk about this global timeout, everybody had to pay attention to Amy Cooper. Everyone had to pay attention to George Floyd. How is that helping us as a people, as a country during our global timeout?
I think, well, one, we're not minorities. Carrie, you already know it. It's like these labels that they put on us. It's like the same way of saying like black on black violence. Also, there's no white on white violence. It's branding, right? It's all branding.
You're right.
It's like white people kill white people every single day. No, there is no black on black violence. And if you say black on black violence, well, then let's brand white on white violence. Like I watch Investigation Discovery. Ain't too many of us.
Espérame. Espérame, me voy a traer unas palomitas para ver el ejemplo.
But to answer your question, what does that do? I think what everyone expected is what has happened in the past when the world was still open, right? In that, okay, you had everyone, from Trayvon Martin to Castillo to Sandra Bland, you had all of these lives lost, and black people made some noise. We rioted. We got out in the streets. We started the Black Lives Matter movement. All of those things. And then white people kind of just like, oh, let's give them something. And then it's just like, is it over? It's like Oscar is so black. Okay, good. We gave some Oscars. Are we good now? Like, are we even? And now it's just like, oh no. This is not about like a band. It's like, yo, we might have to amputate the leg a little bit, but it's all right because by amputating the leg, we're gonna save the body. And so I think that's what's happening now. Like America is realizing, like, oh, black people aren't just making a little bit of noise. Like the protests are still out, the conversations are still being had, the change is still being demanded. because we need systematic change.
What a beautiful way to explore what is happening and describe our country. We might have to amputate the leg, but that's to save the body. That's what's happening right now. That's beautiful. And to that end, I have to ask you this, because the way that we do that, we use our voice. And our voice right now in this world, in this country, is to vote. And everyone talks about voting and how important it is, but I feel like more than ever we understand that it's not just about voting every 4 years for the man in office. It's about your local elections. It's about the mayor. It is about the district attorney.
¿Qué pasa, Luis?
Who have the power to bring charges against
Uy, me va 500 de mí.
in your community. If you care about your school district, you can run for the school board. I ask this of you, right? Your parents are from Nigeria. You are Nigerian. You talk about that very lovingly. What does voting mean for you?
You know, I think voting is power. I remember, you know, I became a naturalized citizen back in the 90s.
Te invité sin querer, pero no
I was still a minor. My mom naturalized, and so we were able to do it under her. And just even that power of, like, we are American citizens and all the access that we have by being citizens, one of those accesses and those access to power being voting. It's a big deal. It's a big deal because not only do we have the opportunity to be in this country, but now we can be of the country. We can be of the systems. We can be of the rules. We can be of what it actually affords. But I think going back to your earlier comment about just the setup of systems, I think we are done a disservice. Either it's schools or whatever it is, and I'm not putting teachers on blast. I think teachers do a phenomenal job, but for some reason, we do not, and give them all the raises. I know too many parents who are like, this child of mine, I do love them, but hey, where can I drop them off? And I do think that there is a disservice done because, again, when we talk about them, to your point, we talk about every 4 years. It's important to vote for the presidency. We don't realize, like, oh, snap. We actually vote about, like, how much our library is. It's like small things like that, but they make a big difference.
When you think of voter suppression in this country,
hermano, siento que una se parece a ¿cómo se llama? Ariana Grande.
All the systems that set up, and we normalize. Okay, maybe your job will give you a half day, or maybe, you know, you'll be able to get this luxury. It shouldn't be a luxury. It should be built into the system. It should be built into the fabric of how we vote. But maybe you'll be able to get this luxury in order to enable you to go vote.
Ahora te imaginas, salen las leyendas de Fortnite. Ninja que fue de Gref.
So in a day, you need to get to work. If something happens to your car, if something happens to your child care, if something happens to... There's so many factors along
¿No te imaginas si salen todos los jugadores de Fortnite? Todas las personas, los nombres.
If you're just trying to get to vote and you already have to go through all of these in your everyday life, imagine the one day when
no se puede bailar en ninguna parte. Está bullado.
But then you also see all the times that you've tried to have your voice matter, and then it's been shut down, repressed, told it doesn't matter, and then you're kind of like, what's the point?
Te digo por qué no se puede bailar. Porque caché que cuando alguien baila se escucha el sonido del baile al lado. Por eso. Porque si no vaya a fastidiar el evento.
Have you met black people? By default, like hope is infused in our DNA. Like you know, like if we haven't been broken now be it through slavery, through capitalism,
give it to me,
colonization, through segregation, through, you know, I mean, listen, the history of black people in this country is, at one point, we were 3/5 people. That was a written law. And look at us now. We are whole. We are black girl magic. We are black boy joy. We are, you know what I'm saying? What I think about in terms of giving us hope, right? We're making a lot of people nervous right now, Carrie. We're making a lot of people nervous right now because they're like, man, we put all these obstacles in their way. And these,
en la pantalla de voz hay gente juegando porque en la mía sí, uno. En la mía, Julia, hay gente jugando en la pantalla. No dejan ver.
And I think that's our motto. We can't stop voting and we won't stop voting. We can't stop marching and we won't stop marching. We can't stop thriving and we won't stop thriving.
To that end, because you led me
Tú
directly
tenés los
there,
subtítulos,
I've been
tú tenés
asking
los
everyone
subtítulos
you
activados.
put on this platform, what does activism look like?
¿Ah?
I feel like
¿En
back in the
español o en
day, we
inglés?
had an idea.
En
Yes, it
español.
is marching. Yes, it is protesting. Yes, it is.
Pero tú tenés los subtítulos español, o sea, los tenés subtítulos activados.
No sé cómo se pone.
Mira, dale ajuste,
I think the beauty of
Ya. Y
dale,
entonces,
te vais donde te sale música, en la música.
Ya.
Dale, baja y te sale subtítulos, opciones, le das ahí y le das subtítulos activar. Sí. Y te va a dejar.
they come back, this is how we
Ya
all
los
the
textos.
people who are marching on the front lines, and we're going to be here doing
Ahí te
what
deben
we know to
aparecer,
do best
te
here.
tenés que
And you know
acercar,
what?
sí,
Somebody needs to
un
bail
poco.
them out of jail so now we need to be in the community, getting money or whatever it is. So it's like everybody has a position to play, and so play your position.
Pero
It's your
tengo
spot.
que.
So whoever you
Pero tú
are
lo tenías en
and whatever
español,
you do, play your position. So activists could look like, you know what? I'm not the one that's built to be on the front line. But
Soy
you know
yo,
what?
una chica
My pockets
Galaxy.
go deep, so I'm gonna support the people on the front line. You know, I'm a community.
Hermano,
Black
ay, te lo juro que pensé en una chica
There's
Galaxy.
always a call for entertainers or celebrities that have the platform to do something. Why aren't you speaking out? I'm not a believer in thinking that it's mandatory. Like you said, everyone can be an activist and be activated in different ways. But talk to me about the connection. Talk to me about the marginalization in your world and how you feel like it even inspires you to say more and use your platform to do more.
Beneath the surface of what we do, like Niecy Nash said, is the who, right? The who is the person who's going to be like, hey, let me call this out. Either blind racism, in terms overt racism, in terms of
Luis,
ways that we can be better, in terms of ways that
en la
we
mía hay
can
dos
be more
chicas Galaxy.
uplifting to the community that you may not even realize that you're serving.
Before I let you go, talk to me about the urgency, in your opinion, for people to vote, our people to get out and vote this coming election.
Yeah, I mean, guys, if you think you're tired now, I'm telling you right now, we can.
¡No, puta! ¡No!
We can't take this joke. I understand that
Calme
it
con
may be
pura
hard
wea.
to figure out who to vote for, but at the end
Luis,
of the day, we gotta vote for our families. We gotta vote
no
for
soy
our
gay,
communities.
po, weón.
We gotta vote for continued progress. We have to vote for upward mobility. We have to vote for equality in a way that is long lasting. And if we succeeded before, we can do it again. We talk about the hope. This is the time. This is not the time to give up. This is not the time to pretend a way that we haven't made progress. We have. There's still much more to be done. And you know what? We might have to get to a point where we pass the baton to our children and our children's children, but we still have work to do now for that generation.
Von Orgy, you are everything. You are Molly, but you are not Molly, but I love you so much as Molly on HBO's You are an amazing podcaster, Jesus and Joel. Shout out to Lovey. And then we also have movies. Like you, the world, you're a model, a cover model. Also, wait, don't let me forget your hugely successful
¿Te imaginas? Y aquí de repente dicen,
special on HBO.
Oye, Luis.
Girl, you're doing it all. And I am so grateful. You're truly the dream. Not just the American dream. You're the black girl, brown girl, do it all.
De aquí de repente, re tranqui dice, en 5 minutos.
I really mean that from the bottom.
Hermano, ¿sabéis que te imagináis? Dicen, ya, vamos a enseñar todos los nombres de los jugadores de Fortnite. Y de repente sale hincha 054 chiflado y hincha el tuyo. ¿Y tu idea? Sí, no justicia.
So Atlanta has been one of the hotbeds in terms of political unrest and social injustice. We've seen so much happen in that city, and we've also seen so much come from that city, including one of our very own founding fathers of the civil rights movement, and that's Martin Luther King Jr. But right now, we want to welcome in someone who has used this platform to talk about voting, to talk about racial injustice, and how he's trying to help. Atlanta's very own Russ joins us now on We the People.
Un rapero.
I'm not going to fan out and tell you what some of my favorite songs were that I listened to repeat on yours. We're going to get to the topic at hand. So we got to talk about, recently you did an interview where you shared your outlook on culture and music. And you also were very candid about the fact that you have a privilege, and that it's necessary for you to give back. Tell everybody about what that means.
As like it's very obvious, I'm white and I'm in black culture and I'm benefiting financially off of it. So I feel like if you're a white person financially benefiting off of black culture, you have to put finances back into black culture. It's that simple. The screenshots with your feelings, it just comes off like fake empathy because it comes off very dismissive and very oh, that sucks for y'all. But anyway, back to what I was doing.
Have you felt that way always, or is it now because of the time where we are in this country?
I've always had the feeling. I think now it's just obviously elevated. It's a new level, and there's new, it's to the point now where you can't. First of all, you can't not say anything. Second of all, though, I just think saying something isn't enough anymore. I think if you have the ability to put money back into a culture that you're financially benefiting from, have the ability to, you should.
It's interesting that you talk about it in that way because some people do believe that silence is the best way to go because it's hard to talk race, especially if you're white and you're in the black culture. People just feel as if they can't talk about it. They feel awkward. They feel as if they don't have the privilege or the voice or the words. How do you find yourself right now in terms of interacting with people when they want to talk to you about social injustice, police brutality, what's going on in this country right now?
Well, first of all, picking and choosing whether you want to be silent or not about race, that's a privilege in and of itself. But no, I mean, I try to just do my best to listen to the black people around me and the educated black people I have in my life. So I do my best to not act like I have all the answers for everything, especially in a culture that I'm not from. But that's why when we decided to raise the money for Black Lives Matter organizations, when we raised $500,000, we got on the phone with some of the women who started Black Lives Matter. I got on the phone with Tamika Mallory. I was on the phone with Karen Civil and talking with my friends to make sure the money went to like the correct places, and people who really need it. It's just about listening. That's all. It's about listening.
Let's talk about that for a moment because the way I think of activism for me looks very different. It's not necessarily just protesting on the front lines. I think that's great. But what about being an activist in the way in which you have decided to be one? What inspired you? What did it look like? You said you raised money for Black Lives Matter. What did you do? Walk us through everything that you did and how you find yourself in this moment right now.
So for me, it was 3 years ago. I had like a spring festival, and I decided that I was gonna wear T-shirts with a message on them because I figured what better time to use a platform than in front of a bunch of people. So one of the T-shirts I wore was speak up, white silence is pro-racism, the whole thing. And it didn't really it kind of got swept under the rug back then.
90, o sea, 30 segundos.
Again, and it's been happening, the police brutality against innocent black people. I was like, man, I'm not the biggest artist in the world, and I certainly don't have the most fans in the world, but I got a good amount of people that I can definitely mobilize and turn into some money, and I know they're down for the cause because it's merch, it's a good thing, and I've always been outspoken anyway.
Arriba sale.
Black culture, not be outspoken about racism.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Leaders, home of so much great music and things that speak to our culture right now. And we are really
No le di listo. Quédate viendo.
This platform today and saying that we must use our voice.
No le di a listo. Es que hermano se bugueó el mapa. Oh, regresa a la sala. No, regresé. Quédate vos. El evento no. Quédate vos viendo el evento no. Invítame.
¿Para qué?
¿Me invitáis?
Dale, te invito. Sofía Loven.
¿Me tenés como Sofía, weón?
No, Oye, que tenía como algo cielo. Ahí va, me pinchó pen. Vamos, bueno, manito, ¿cómo está ahí? Estoy bien. ¡Qué remontada! Épica, loco, épica. Estoy temblando, what the fuck. Hermano, 210.000 espectadores.
Me salta error.
Qué tonto.
Gente, cambio la clave. Saco estos cracks. Tío. Pasamos la clave de una a la nueva clave va a ser, a ver que no se ve aquí. Ahí se ve el chat. Ok, la nueva clave va a ser
30 segundos.
¿Qué 30 segundos?
30 minutos.
30 minutos. 30 minutos de qué?
Para que termine, parece.
No, quiero para que no volvamos a la sala porque es como que esto tiene límite, pues no podía estar todo el día. Tiene límite. ¿Dónde estáis vos?
It's time to actually put your money where your mouth is. It's time to go vote. You know, it's time to just stop talking about it and be about it. You know, there's been time for that, but like I said,
es que vos tenías el anónimo puesto.
I'm ashamed that it took me this long to actually really
es que vos tenías el anónimo puesto. Quítate el anónimo, Luis.
So Russ, we all know that this is going to be your first time voting. Tell me what that experience is.
Ven, sígueme, ven, sígueme. Yo tengo otra partitura, mira.
It's going to let me know that I'm
Métete acá.
contributing to something bigger than myself, and I'm actually
Métete ahí.
putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm
Ahora
doing
sale.
it because, you know, for so long, and I know I'm not
Yo,
alone with this, but
mira la pantalla.
standing on the outside and just screaming about this and that, and this should change, and it's like, alright, because you go.
Era mentira. Ven, sígueme.
I know it's gonna feel good to know that I played a small role, you know? And that's the problem. I think the mentality of like, my vote doesn't matter needs to be changed to.
Ven rápido. Ya vos. Cuando llegue aquí te tiré ahí.
Does matter. It's a
Tírate.
I play my part, and you
Y
play
vení
your
donde
part,
estoy yo.
and she plays their part. Then we make a difference, but you know, it'll feel. I feel very, very bigger than me. And I think when you realize that giving actually feels better than receiving, that's when you start wanting to do your part and contribute. So voting is an easy way to give, you know.
Yeah. To whom much is given, much is required, and you've been given this platform. We are so grateful. Philanthropists, artists, community activists.
Ven, sígueme, ven.
Thank you, I appreciate you.
Ven, sígueme. Si aparte que no vea, nos podemos divertir, pues Luis, nos podemos divertir aprovechando si no vemos el evento, también nos dan las cosas, ¿cierto? Porque estamos en victoria. Ven, sígueme. No te montines esa cosa de ahí, Ven. Yo voy a tirar esto. Tú solamente me seguís, dale, espérate. No, pero... No soy imbécil, pues Luis, que quiere hacer algo. Mira, espérate, yo te manejo. No, si ya sé, pero Luis, ¿a dónde te disparaste? La idea era tirarte para allá, po. Para acá, ¿dónde? Para allá, mira, para acá.
Ah, para allá, espérame.
¡Ay, papá! ¡Llegué!
¿Llegaste?
Llegué a la tirolesa.
Mira, Mati, ven.
¿Para dónde querés que me vaya?
Allá donde está el camión.
Hermano, eso no un camión.
O sea, el cañón.
Un camión.
Un camión.
Intenta darme.
Ah, no.
Tírame.
Mira cuánta sensibilidad.
también tengo... Mira, ven. Yo también tengo una celebridad.
Espérame.
Mírame. Mírame.
Mira.
¡No! ¡Llegó la perra, weón! Ah, pero por último subo la tirolesa. Oye, vamos a ver el evento mejor, vamos, güey. No, güey. Ven a ver el evento, puta. ¡Oh! ¡Está Kobe Ryan! ¡Kobe Ryan! Luis, mira, ven. Luis, mira dónde estoy.
You said something I thought was so key because covering sports for so long, I know that
Luis,
it's
mira dónde
tough for
estoy.
black players specifically in Major League Baseball to talk about how they feel. Adam Jones did it in a very eloquent way earlier.
No, sí, es un bug, Luis, es un bug.
You said you all were afraid. Why use that word and why were you afraid?
He was afraid because in 2019 there were 68 of us total, and there are 38 teams. There's 25 men offshore on each team, 40 men roster, which is on each team as well. There aren't many of us, so we're out. Not always in a negative way. Our teammates and our clubhouse.
Tiene la cabeza terrible su gana.
¿Quién? Espérate.
María, ¿dónde hay botes?
No hay bote. Mira, Luis, ven donde estábamos nosotros. Mira, ven rápido.
Espera, que voy a...
Yo no veo el evento.
Like you said, if you want to
Mira, ven.
And for so long, I felt it bubbling right underneath the surface that so many of us who were in whatever positions we were, who had platforms, were tired of pretending and looking the other way and spending so much time making others comfortable while we were uncomfortable. Do you feel that this is the type of movement that is sustainable, or is it just for a time?
No, it takes everyone joining in on the conversation, and right now I feel like more than ever there is little things possible to distract.
Ni idea, bueno, yo creo que es un bot porque ni se mueve.
We saw our holding up the sign saying Black Lives Matter.
No, también mi personaje no me gusta la
Mira un bot. Cuestión que pelear, hermano, pelear.
¡Ah, mi hueso!
Espera un poco.
Mira.
No. Madre. Maldito comando. Why do you do me? What do you
to help change how we look at voting and how to educate the culture and the community about voting?
Well, first what I'm doing, Carrie, is joining up with more than a vote and joining up with other athletes and entertainers to get that message out and use our platform and that simple and try to create a brand with this to make it something that's not just about the election, how to make sure that it's about people getting educated. We've got people in different areas that cover different demographics and influence different areas of people. Baseball player, it's a black baseball player.
Hermano, no
right now, like we talked about, it's finding time to use your voice and it's the profession. You don't have to be afraid. And to me, that can help help a kid growing up. You can see me, you can see other guys that were in the video we posted saying, hey, this is what they're standing for. They're speaking up for these things, and it's okay to want to play baseball. It's not lame. It's not something I have to be as afraid of as I was before. So I feel like that's my role. I have a younger brother as well. He's 24. He also plays baseball. So I've got to live by myself. I can't just always come up with a good answer that sounds good on TV. When I get asked a question on, what do we need to do to make changes? I'm joining up here to make sure that I take action and get educated myself. So many people, I feel like in Atlanta, they're on the move. Well, when you want to try to and try and cast your vote, you have to do it by mail. You have to sign up for that T ballot. Then you have to get another ballot in return. They have to send it back to you. Well, for me personally, they didn't
Puta, si tuviese la moto hubiésemos cagado el evento del coso.
Ah, aquí está. Mira, ahí está.
Sí, pero no sé, no hay moto.
¿Y si hay?
No hay.
A ver, pues.
No hay, po.
Bueno, pues.
Luis, si yo,
Voy a ver.
yo estoy acá. No hay.
Está cerca.
Yo estoy acá. No hay nada. Mira, si yo estaba allá, no hay nada. No hay ninguna moto. ¿Para qué vaya a ir? Vaya a perder puro tiempo.
Bueno.
Imbécil. Va a perder puro tiempo.
No, reach out via social media to people and say, hey,
Puta, evento, weón, dura más que la chucha.
No, faltaban 30 minutos, mancillo.
Ya llevamos como 40 segundos.
Well, it's interesting that you even bring that up because there have been all these images, specifically from Georgia, because that's such a battleground, where you see people, especially when it came to the primary.
A ver, si esto inició a las esto inició a las 5 p.m. Y ya son las 7 p.m.
There needs to be
2 horas,
some
po.
type of change, and I think that what we're doing right now is fair.
Write your name.
The idea of voter suppression, do you think that is well known, especially with folks, you know, within the generation, your generation?
I think it's known in our communities, right? I don't think it's spoke on enough. I don't think there's been enough light drawn to it. Bring it to light. Let people hear about it. Let people learn about what that looks like. And get more people to say, okay, look, this is going to happen. We have to expect this, and we can no longer make the excuse, you know, we can't. More.
Jason, everybody knows, or it feels as if everyone knows that the time is now.
¿Qué
They're
queriste?
paying attention to us. We have their eyes, we have their ears. If you look toward the future, what are you most excited about in terms of seeing the change?
I'm excited about how fast the word is traveling. You know, the word is being spread right now. The biggest athletes, the biggest icons, biggest entertainers are doing that part.
Espérate, me voy a disfrazar de algo.
Tanto allá, man. Un lugar ahí. Esto no es what the fuck, man. No, casi me tocó.
¡Ah, puta!
No. Ya. No, ya terminó.
No, solo falta.
Hey everybody, I am so excited to welcome a friend, a brother, family member, if you will, former colleague, NBA
¡Pero cómo!
sports analyst, philanthropist, he does it all, and he's here to give his time and his platform to talk about something that is so important, that is voting. Everybody, welcome Jalen Rose to We the People. Talk to me about how important it is for people who know you and love you and look up to you. Why is it so important? that
Nadie
you
me
do
quiere. Nadie me quiere, güey. El evento está terrible fome, güey.
Mano, quiero entrar. Voy. Entro.
¿Dónde quería
Not only
entrar?
did they not look like us,
¿En el culo de esa
we
huevona?
didn't believe they were there to represent our best interests. So therefore, as a collective, we
¿Dónde
didn't
quería
mobilize
entrar,
to
Luis?
vote
¿Dónde quería entrar?
Obama, and we felt a sense of hope that finally our country
Luis.
is going to do something that we felt would never happen in
Luis.
our lifetime. And I remember being at the
Ven,
inauguration in
sígueme.
2008. I made sure I was there. And we voted in 2016. We didn't vote, Karen. We didn't vote. And
¿Ya dónde quería entrar?
try to make this political. This is not political.
¡No, con la celda!
Like telling somebody to pay.
Estoy terrible bullado.
Nobody is going to represent our best interest. And then number two, the reality is that the person that gets the most votes.
Luis, mira bien. Luis, ¿dónde tengo? Sube la tirolesa, mira. Mira,
That's uncomfortable right there. Because that's actually what took place in 2016.
Mira, voy a traspasar. ¡Traspasamos, ve!
And if
¡Es
you
un
put all
bug!
of
¡Mira,
their
ven!
pictures up, I'm pretty sure they look a
Mira.
lot more like each other than they look like you and I.
Bueno, te
How about that? And then the third thing, especially in urban environments,
súper rápido
oh
para
man,
atrás.
it
Mira
creates
lo loco,
very
¿sabes?
It's like you gotta jump over the fence, you gotta run past the dog, you gotta jump on the hood of the car.
¡Nah, que son hijos de la perra!
5 hours long, you get up to the...
Anda apretando todo el rato cuadrado, anda apretando todo el rato cuadrado por si acaso.
The young people who understand technology working in
Entonces no
the summer,
están.
like these are all systematic things that try to discourage us from voting. And then finally, we don't have a day off to vote. We need to work. So when we get a day off, it's gonna be a full day, and I gotta work to pay my bills. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna mail in vote. And you know what you want people to realize that that counts too. So
En 15 minutos se termina la partida.
So those are a few things that I hope that we can do and mobilize. And shout to LeBron and his team. Shout to you and everybody involved. We will make a difference.
Well, let's talk about more than a vote. There is a black collective of athletes coming together and saying voter suppression is a real deal, especially in the black community.
¡Y me votó! ¡Y me votó!
So I can't go vote. And then when we do get in the booth, just in case we don't have to vote, then you know who we're voting for. Not only do we have to vote, we got to be educated. And it's not always even about the man who's in office or the woman who's in office for president. It's about your local elections. It's about the people who are your DAs, your state DAs, like the people who actually make change in your community, who will change police brutality, who will make sure that your community is taken care of, who will defund police and hope that they can help you in stopping police brutality. So talk to me about why you decided to be a part of More Than a Vote and what it actually means.
Well, it means a lot to be involved with such an impressive collective as you mentioned. And I said this multiple times, and I know it can be uncomfortable when I say it, but a lot of times we have to get to the root of the issue before we find a solution. And the quote was, I wish America loved black people as much as it loves black culture. And this collective, by the way, represents in a lot of ways.
Luis, mírame, Luis, mírame, Luis, mírame, Luis, mírame. No, me están sacando de la cuenta.
Because we were brought here as labor and to entertain. And we use those vehicles to get paid and move to the suburbs and be idols of white kids. And so now that we have this collective, I would say sports and entertainment represent the most powerful group of black men in the United States. I'm talking about money, power, celebrity, the ability to mobilize, community involvement, their leadership, their intellect. And so to have all of us pulling in the same direction at the same time for anything that we're passionate about, it's going to be a difference maker, but it's definitely going to be a difference maker in the 2020 vote, because we're going to make sure we inform everybody that they can let their voice be heard, and failure is not an option.
Jalen, what does voter suppression look like to you?
A perfect example took place recently, Terry, in Kentucky. It was 6 p.m. at night. And so many people standing in line enthusiastic to vote. You know what they did? Locked the door. And you know what the people did? They continued to bang on the door. They continued to bang on the window. They continued to let it be known. They were not going to leave the premises until they got a chance. And you know what ended up happening? Open doors. So do not be discouraged. These barriers show you that it matters.
Oye, ¿cachai que la Lince tiene un novio? La Lince esa que está ahí, la Lince en esta, la que está acá, tiene un novio, el miáculo con la katana, me coloco el miáculo con las katanas y me hago pasar el novio de la Lince. Espérate, voy a ver si tengo el miáculo, acá está, me coloco en este estilo, con esta katana. Listo.
¡Oh, salí volando! Está en el auto, mira, lo vi, está de día. Porque mira,
¿Qué pasó?
Mira, está de día yo, lo vi, porque mira detrás suyo.
Jalen, in today's age of technology, it should be easier.
No doubt. It's like, we call these devices smartphones, but yet I can't boast of them. All of the things that we do in our lives,
Julián, te vas a vistió de mí.
people will need to overcome in order to create a level of enthusiasm to vote. And again, this is not political. It's your right to do so. And there's so many times when you feel like somebody may have gotten done unjustly in your community. Pay attention to who the judges are. Who's running for Senate.
Ni idea, pero me están enviando más solicitudes de amistad que la mente de madre.
Who's running for Senate. Let's make sure in 2020 we make a difference.
Why is more than a vote
Mira, aquí está mi
so
compita.
important and invaluable in our community right now?
Well, because right now, I think we have an opportunity to let our voices be heard louder than ever. Anytime you see the mobilization of white kids holding black lives, now, what happens with that breakthrough?
No, y coletas de lobo.
You're going to look down in your email here, you're going to see all of these companies telling you how they're going to work on their diversity, how they're looking themselves in the mirror, they need to make change. Just like in sports, right? All those black players. Further you get up, like altitude or a lap, it's thinner and thinner. And so, a lot of people talk about the system being broken. I hate to remind people it's not broken, it was built this way. And one of our ways to the system is to vote. So that's why more than a vote is so very important. So we can make sure everybody participates and gives themselves an opportunity to let their voice be heard.
I think it's interesting because you talked about black men being very powerful if they're athletes and entertainers, because for so long those have been all the avenues traditionally to create wealth. The NBA season comes back.
Yeah.
What are your feelings on the season coming back in the midst of everything that is happening?
I think you'll see players.
Sí, pero es un juego, imbécil.
You're going to see them saying, okay, if you have all of these marketing and promotional deals, how many of them are with minorities? How many
¿La Lince está ahí arriba?
employing in NBA?
¿La Lince está ahí arriba?
Teams? Who do you have as a minority? Or what about the candidates that you have for positions of power? NBA players have proven.
¿Dónde está la Lince, man?
They are now movers and shakers in the game. They're now the dog, not the tail. So if they decide not to play, some of the biggest social changes and conversations have taken place in sports that weren't during the game. Colin Kaepernick was before the game. The Ali Summit was a press conference. So they could mobilize if they chose to. But when and if you do play, challenge the league. Black Lives Matter on the jersey. Continue to make sure that every time people are watching the game, they're also seeing the movement happen.
Jalen, I appreciate you because you are always entertaining and informative at once. I really, truly am looking forward to the NBA season with more than a vote, because your voice, your platform, all of it is needed, my friend. Be safe, okay? Thank you. Love you, brother.
Love you too.
Every conversation that we had today, I hope was helpful for you. I am so grateful to everyone who came on with me to talk about what's going on in culture and how we need to. Huge shout out to Jalen Rose, Bundy, Jason Mabry, and Rush. Their words were inspiring, but also important and invaluable. I hope your phone is full with all the information that we've been able to place in front of you. Again, you need to check out these resources because they are so important, because we want you to vote. That is your voice. It is important. We, the people, want you to vote. So, go to morethanavote.org.
Luis, vamos a jugar un dúo.
camp.org. Again, thank you so much for joining us and paying attention.
Nada, vamos a jugar un dúo y listo.
Is invaluable. I'm Carrie Champion.
Abandona.
¿Qué es esto? Espérate, mira.
Que ya terminó, por Luis, por eso te dije.
Me volví con la espalda.
Abandona.
Abandoné. No creo que nos vayan a dar un baile.
No pasa nada, pero yo digo que tampoco nos van a dar nada.
Yo no.
Yo digo que los Fortnite dijo va que puro la vean el evento.
Sí, hermano. ¿Quién es esta?
Porque duró caleta. El fan.
Tengo que ir a tomar once.
No, bueno, que ya se me dio. ¡Otra! Esta voz que es lo que me refiero, weón.
Solo me queda una bala, quiero ser millonario desde la muerte. Todo esto es un laberinto, pero mi mente no permite perderme. Noches de inspiración más en mi planeta mientras los otros duermen. Tengo personas que odian, pero prometí que no voy a caerme. Muchas personas escuchan mi música, pero muy pocas la entienden. Me fui por otro camino porque me especializo en ser diferente. Le doy gracias al de arriba porque no